out the box?
Well, I think it's twofold. One is just having interaction with the players, and then two is making the sideline adjustments. When you're in the box, you can see things that maybe you can't see on the field, especially the far side of the field. And so it's kind of that give and take. And, some guys like to be up in the box and see the whole picture. Some guys really like to be down on the field. And when you're down on the field, you're calling it. But, I think that we're heading in the right direction in terms of game day operations.
Is there a problem with the field turf at Ohio Stadium? It seems like a lot of guys are slipping. And is there anything that can be done about that midseason?
I mean, we looked at our cleats to make sure that we have the right footwear. Kevin Reese is looking into that, and we have had some guys go down, so we're looking at those things to see if we have the right footwear in the game.
Second row, right. Joey Kaufman, Columbus Dispatch. Ryan, with the way Trevion ran last Saturday, do you foresee going forward him starting at that spot and getting kind of a similar workload, or?
Well, I think he certainly is going to have a bigger role. Now, whether it's a starter or not, we'll kind of take it week to week, but he deserves an opportunity to play a lot because, you can see his big playability. But, mine started in the first game, and then, and Trey certainly, flashed in this game. So we'll see. He's still young. Mine's still young. Master's still, practicing hard. So, we'll kind of figure it out as the week goes on.
Obviously, that was a really eye-popping stat-wise performance and some of the explosive runs. When you look back on the film, where can he grow? What do you like? Where can he grow?
He's got a lot to grow. He's got a lot to improve on. I mean, you can see his ability level, but there's a lot of things just in terms of executing, in protection, executing, his reads and his vision, and sometimes, making sure that he's running through contact and finishing runs. But there was a lot of good things on there. But he's very, very young. He didn't play last year at all, even in high school. So the last time he played was his junior year in high school. So to come out and flash like that has been exciting. But at the same time, he's still building, still growing, and still has a long way to go.
Third row left, Dan Hope, 11 Warriors. Yeah, Ryan, do you feel any pressure this week to get those backup quarterbacks in there for some playing time, knowing that this is the last non-conference game?
No, I don't feel pressure. I think that we'll look to see if we can possibly get that done this week, though. If it works out, again, a lot of it has to do with the week of preparation. It really is week to week, and so we start that preparation on Sunday after we get off the field. We wipe the previous week clean, then we go from there. So it's all about how these guys prepare and how they practice. But if the opportunity presents itself, then we'd like to do that this week.
And you have a lot of guys on this team that really didn't play much last year because you didn't have those non-conference games. How much do you think that's maybe impacting, the way this team's playing right now and maybe not being quite as sharp as you'd like to be?
Well, first off, there's no excuses. I mean, we have to play at a high level, and we have to execute in all three phases and play clean games and play hard, do all those things. But I think if, you're looking at our team, you're looking at a team where, coming off of last year, a lot of experience walked out of the building. And typically those guys who would be stepping into the roles that they're stepping into would have had a bunch of reps under their belt. The linebackers, really, those four linebackers to the left, they all played almost every snap last year. Justin Fields played every snap last year. A lot of those guys got a bunch of those reps last year, and those guys who are stepping into those roles didn't. And some of those guys didn't play their senior year of high school. Some of those guys are year 2, 3 in the program, but they're still inexperienced. And, if you had, Josh Myers and Wyatt Davis and Justin Fields and Tuff Borland and Pete Warner and those guys coming back into this year, it would probably be a little different, but they're gone. And because there was a gap there, we've got to fill that gap. We got to catch up. And, it's not going to happen overnight. And, we got to do a great job as coaches to make sure that we're on our game to help close that gap faster. And, guys, the more snaps that guys get under their belt, the more experience they get, the more confidence they're going to get in what they're doing. So I think that's something that's there. It's real. We have to recognize it and make sure that we're addressing it.
Second row right, Tim May, Letterman Row.
Yeah, Ryan, as you looked at basically going to that two safety look quite a bit on Saturday and stuff, what did you see about that you liked? And then number two, Ronnie Hickman seems to be coming on. I mean, I don't know what your take is on that, but him specifically seems to have some spark to that defense, along with Cam Martinez in those man situations and stuff. But just what's your take on those things?
But it's exciting to start to hear those names. Like going in, it's like, who was the guys that we're going to count on. And, you're starting to see Ronnie make plays. You're starting to see him with multiple games where he has 10 or more tackles. You see Cam get a PBU. You see Denzel get an interception. He got turned over, but it was a really good play. And then Cam Martinez with the interception. You see a couple guys make. You saw Tyleek with the sack. You saw some guys making some plays. And I think that's going to go a long way as they head into the meat of the schedule, because now they know that they can do it, and they've done it because everything they're doing is for the first time. So I think that that part's exciting. I think that we did change up the looks a little bit, and we'll continue to build on that and figure out, which of those plays put our guys in the best position to be successful, because that's our job as coaches, to put your players in the best position to be successful. And if we're not doing that, then we need to get it fixed and get it changed. So I thought we did a little bit better job of that. We got to continue on it.
You see Bryson Shaw seem to be more comfortable. I mean, seem to be more in the mix. I mean, am I reading that wrong?
No, I think, again, how much has he really played going into the season? Now he's starting to get his feet wet. He's starting to get some experienced reps under his belt, and then you can draw upon those type of things. And I think one thing that we just all have to recognize is that you don't just walk out with an Ohio State uniform and think you're just going to go win. It doesn't work that way. It's really hard. And, we have to continue to prepare at a high level so that we can compete at a high level. And that's just the facts. And I think the more that our guys are getting those reps and preparing at a high level, the better we're going to compete.
Second row left, Stephen Means, Cleveland.com.
Ryan, just for the sake, CJ, obviously, he hadn't thrown a pass before he got into the season, but neither of those other guys. Would it be worth in a game like this, maybe in the first half, to get a guy like Kyle or Jack out there for a series, to go into that game with the purpose of maybe at the first series of the second quarter, I'm playing this quarterback, it's not going to be CJ?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know about all that. We'll take a look at the week and see if there's a situation that presents itself that we may want to do something. We get some guys some reps because, like we're talking here, it's important. But I don't like the idea of just arbitrarily putting somebody in there in that spot. I think what CJ's done so far, he's had some reps that he wants back, but he's also had some really good reps as well. And I think when you look at his numbers, compared to some of the younger quarterbacks we've had, and he's young. I mean, he's like playing a true freshman. There's going to be growing pains along the way, and he's just got to learn from those and continue to grow. And those other quarterbacks have to keep coming, and if they keep practicing well, then they'll get an opportunity.
Right next door, Stephen Means, Cleveland.com. I'm sorry, Nathan Barrett.
There are a lot of questions.
We're hard to tell us apart.
Yeah. I get it. We both have red hair.
With CJ, he was talking about being sore after the game. Just how do you sort of manage that during a week, and while also getting him the reps and stuff that he needs to keep developing?
That's a challenge for sure. Is making sure that he gets the reps and gets the timing with the receivers that he needs, but then also, rests him, his shoulder and making sure that he's where he needs to be. So there's something there for sure that we have to continue to work through, and it's something that we're talking about a lot and trying to figure out.
From your perspective, why has there been such a seeming lack of pressure from the defensive front? Is that just guys not winning one-on-one things? Is it schematic things that aren't coming together? What are you saying?
I think a little bit of both, but I agree with you. It needs to improve. When you play with the four down front, you want to see disruption in the backfield, and so we're going to continually work on that and try to find ways to put them in the best position to be successful. But pressure does help. But like you said, there are some one-on-one situations that we just got to do a better job executing, and it's twofold. I think when the secondary is covering and making the quarterback hold on to that ball a little bit more, then that allows those guys to get home. I think we did cover pretty decent the other day, and so that's something that we'll spend a lot of time on this week and trying to get that fixed.
Second row middle, Bill Rabinowitz, Columbus Dispatch.
Yeah. Ryan, what is Kerry Combs' role right now? Because you think if he went up to the booth, then that would give him that bigger view to be able to call the plays. It just seems kind of, what is his role and how is he taken what is perceived to be a demotion?
Well, he's a professional. I mean, he's an Ohio guy. He has a lot of pride. he's a tremendous coach and has an unbelievable record in terms of being a head coach. When he was in high school, and then certainly when he came here. And the guys he's developed and what he's done and been part of national championships and he's proud. He's a proud Buckeye, and so he's done an unbelievable job in the last week of, just pushing forward. And I got a lot of respect for him, and he loves this place and wants to win, and he's working hard. He's still a big part of the defense and still has a lot to do with it, and still sees everything through the eyes of the coordinator. We've readjusted some roles, but he's done an unbelievable job of being a pro and working through it.
And the talent level on this team. You also know the inexperience on this team. Is this team where you thought it would be after 3 games? Are you disappointed? Are you pleased? Where do you kind of
I didn't have many expectations because there were so many unknowns going into the season. There were so many guys that had, and we talked about this in the spring. We talked about this in the preseason. And now here we are of just guys that hadn't played. And, you do the best you can in practice to prepare them, but until they're actually in a game, you just don't know. And so I didn't know what this year would bring. And here we are in a whole new journey. This is kind of, brand new for us for having such a young, inexperienced team and working through this journey to the end of the season. It's still early on. And, I think, we're going to be steadfast in getting the experience that we need, but then also forging an identity as a team. What identity do we want to have as a team in this group right here? And so, I didn't know what this would be. I didn't have expectations. I'm hopeful that we can keep working, and as we look back here in a few weeks, we can see a lot of growth, that we did a really good job of coaching and building guys up and teaching and stuck together when, it wasn't, these first few weeks haven't been ideal, but that's life too.
Third row left, Bill Landis, The Athletic.
Ryan, I know any defense has stress points and offenses find them, but when the way you guys play zone, where you kind of just drop and play off the quarterback, how much does the lack of pressure kind of exacerbate maybe some of the struggles you guys have playing zone coverage?
Yeah, I think it goes hand in hand. There's times where we're playing zone, there's times where we're playing man, and when the pass rush doesn't marry up with the coverage, then that's a problem. So there are times where we're giving a little bit of ground right there, and there's going to be some underneath completions where the ball gets out of the quarterback's hands. At that point, we need to rally and be great tacklers and force them to work the ball all the way down the field and avoid big plays and explosive plays. It's one of the important parts of our defense. But then if we're going to do that, we also have to play man and challenge at times, and then force that quarterback to hold the ball. But to your point, all those things only work if we're getting a pass rush with a 4-man rush, and so again, evaluating all that is on the table.
And the guys you have kind of playing on the back end, you're talking a lot about their relative inexperience. Just like, how long does it take for a player to kind of get comfortable with the spatial awareness and just playing in those zone areas when you haven't done it a ton?
Right. I mean, everybody's different. I think that the real good ones, they don't need a whole bunch of reps, but some guys need more reps, and that's part of it. And the more you can get mental reps and learn from watching film, from going through the plays and visualizing them in your head. We talk all the time about playing the game in your mind. If you've already played the game in your mind, you give yourself an advantage. If you don't, and every time you walk out there, the only time that you're actually getting that rep is when you're physically doing it, then you're not going to be as good as the next guy, and you're not going to improve faster. So that's something that we talk about a ton, is being able to get mental reps, visualizing, playing the game, watching film, because that's what playing at the highest level of college football is all about, and that can close the gap fast as well. So as much work as we put in physically during the week, we got to put in that same amount mentally so that we can learn and can catch up on those reps.
Far left, Jacob Benji, The Lantern.
Hey Ryan, you touched on it earlier, but with Travion and Master and the running back depth, how nice is it to have a list of guys who can carry the ball for you to have that depth at the running back?
Yeah, I mean, I think especially as we get into the meat of the season, having a depth at that position is critical, especially with, the balance that we're striving for, is that we got to be able to run the ball and throw the ball. We haven't quite found that balance yet. You've seen flashes of it, but we just need to learn to execute at a high level across the board. And but having those guys and having some depth at that position gives us some strength moving forward for sure.
And then on on the other side of the ball, Cam Martinez, for him to develop from being a quarterback in high school to now having a pick six in a Buckeye game, how huge is that? How have you seen him maybe take that in stride?
Yeah, no, this is a guy that, like you said, he was a quarterback in high school, and he wasn't sure about making that move. We considered him actually a wide receiver when he first came in, and had to go back and forth. But we felt like his skill set was really special, and that he could be a really high-end DB, but that there was going to be some transition there because he hadn't played the position before. And this is an example of somebody who's really done a really good job with the amount of reps he's had in practice. And then also, like we just talked about, visualizing things, getting mental reps so that he was at competitive excellence when he was called on. And now this is just a start. He made a play or two, and that was good. But now the consistency moving forward is going to be critical.
Second row right, Austin Ward, Letterman row.
Ryan, I don't mean to belabor the point, and I know that there are only not much you'll say about any injuries, but CJ has said he's in pain. He looks like he's in pain. Would there be any possible benefit with what you know to him not playing this week?
I don't know. I mean, we can talk about that as the week goes on, but his plan is to practice right now.
I guess you were asked earlier by Dan about the pressure of trying to sort this through with the other guys, and you said all along you thought all three of them would need to play to get through the season. How much thought is there to, as you say, you don't really want to designate a drive at this point, but just this would be the game, right, if we're being honest?
Sure.
To get them out there.
Yeah, and if it works out, we'll do it. Like I said, but CJ gets in there. We also want to get him to find a rhythm as well, and to kind of get the execution of the offense. I mean, that's the number one goal is to make sure that we're executing at a high level and finding that rhythm. I don't think we found that quite yet, and we're gonna get that done here this week, and some things that we're trying to address in practice, how we're teaching. Looking at all those things, but. At the end of the day, that's what we're trying to find. And again, if something presents itself or we can get other guys in the game, we certainly want to do that.
When you've looked at that and you said he's had some really good reps and we've seen that he's played through pain and been willing to do that and stuff, when the not so good reps are coming or the dealing with inaccuracy, do you think that's tied to the shoulder or the inexperience that maybe you're talking about?
Probably a little bit of both. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you can quite identify those type of things, but sometimes timing and practice and that leads to that. Things like that. But, when you get more reps under your belt and you feel more comfortable and then you rep it better in practice, all those things add up. So, all things that we're working through with a young quarterback. And, I think that there's a lot of great football ahead for C.J. Stroud. I just do. When you look at kind of the situation he's been put into and some of the throws he's made, you can see he can do it. Now we just got to keep growing on it.
Deep left, Brendan Gulick, Buckeyes Now on Sports Illustrated.
Coach, just building on the CJ question there, I mean, you've spoken highly of him, his teammates have spoken highly of him. He obviously works hard and has the respect of the room. But some of the things that we can't evaluate on a box score, his ability to process plays when things are getting fast. How would you assess the way he's grown from that perspective?
I think it's been very good. I think he's very intelligent. And he can take a meeting to the field. He knows what he sees when he gets off the field. And certainly, he'll come off at times and know that he made a mistake and understands it afterwards. And maybe we need to do a better job of giving him a different picture during that week, or could have done a better job of preparing that week and just whatever that is, because you have split seconds to make these decisions, and so that's where you learn from. And you got to kind of. Grin and bear it, and hopefully, again, what you're investing in, you're going to get back in the back end.
I know you were asked early on about the playing surface. If you can't change the playing surface during the year, assuming that it would need to be changed, you can control the cleats. I know you mentioned cleats. Can you give us a little bit more detail on specifically what goes into the process of choosing cleats for games, whether it's for linemen or for backs, to make sure that you at least have that?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, they have different styles. They have the linemen, they have the kind of the mids, and then they have the speed. And so then the guys can choose from that, and they have the molded ones, or then the kind of the old screw-ins, so different styles that way. And then based on the surface, the guys decide which is best for them.
Third row right, Tony Gervin, Buckeye School.
Ryan, when you've got young players who step up like Travion, Tyleek, and Denzel, Cam, how much do you then watch? We all look at the young guys and we see that. How much do you watch the veterans respond to them throughout the week in practice.
Yeah, no, I mean, being a good teammate is something that is very important. And being a Buckeye and being proud to be part of the team is so important. And whether it's an older guy or a younger guy making plays, the better teammate you are really does matter. And so we've been talking about that a lot. You come to Ohio State sometimes because of your goals personally that you have, but then once you're here, you're part of the brotherhood, you're part of Buckeye Nation, you're part of what is bigger than just you, and that's why you play so hard, is for the guy next to you. And that's the message, and obviously, yeah, we look at that big time.
If you see a response that you don't like, do you right away, or do you see how long it goes?
I mean, if there's something we don't like, then there's a conversation that's had, yeah. But for the most part, I mean, guys, they're pulling for their teammates. There's a lot of pressure on these guys. I know that they have parents and they have family and they have media and they have different people who have certain expectations. And if maybe they're not meeting some of those expectations, boy, it's hard for them. And there's a lot of things that coming at them right now. Certainly with name, image, and likeness, with the one-time transfer, there's just a lot going on, and what you could call a lot of noise. And so, they have to filter that out, and that's where, when they're in this building, we kind of call it the sanctuary, it's safe from all that stuff that's outside, and that we're all in this thing together, and that's why you play so hard. That's the idea.
Fourth row middle, Pat Murphy, 24/7.
Ryan, you've said when things go wrong, you look at coaching, scheme, personnel. I think we saw a little bit of all three of those things with changes you made, but has any one thing stood out these last two games when you've looked at the film?
Yeah, if it was one thing in one area, yeah, I would say yes. I think it's a little bit of all three. Is finding the right guys in the right spots, which I think we made some good progress on. I think the scheme has been good at times, but I also think it could be better. And then the same thing with the coaching. I think that there's times where we can do a better job coaching it, for sure. And so we got to tighten up in all those areas.
You mentioned identity and still looking for that. At this point in the season, is it disappointing that you haven't found that identity yet? Or with as many guys as you're playing and young guys, is that kind of expected, a fourth of a way through a season?
I don't know if it's disappointing. It's just it's what it is. And the more we get out there, and like we said, the more guys who start to fit into those roles, and the more we start to get a personality, I think the more we're going to feel that. I think I have a really good idea of what it's going to be. I don't think we're that far off. Sometimes it feels like we're really far away when we're not. And so we'll just keep pushing forward. But we also can't be fake. It can't be like fake confidence. It's got to be real confidence, because we're going to get into conference play here really soon, and it's going to get real.
Over far right, Clay Hall, WSYX.
You talked about just because you wear an Ohio State uniform doesn't mean you can roll it out there. This might be the kind of game, I don't know, that you could roll it out there. How do you make sure people play to the standard and that they get value out of this game going into the conference?
Well, I think it's just exactly what you said. I mean, I don't really ever think that, it's about anybody who we're playing. It's always been about us. I don't think maybe than once, where we were just beaten. Every time we've lost a game around here, I've always felt like it's been us. So it's always a standard about who we are, and it's been about us and being the best version of yourself. Our culture's built on one term. I'm going to talk to the team about that today. It's fight to become the best version of yourself. And we this week, that has to be the focus. Nothing else. Simply be the best version of you, the best version of this team that we can be. And if we do that, then we take the next step forward. How do we do that? And it's a fight. It's not easy. You got to prepare at the highest level you can possibly, prepare at, and then go put it on the field again. Because that's the test. How well did you prepare during the week? Depends on how you play on Saturday.
Front row right, Dom.
Coach, you mentioned the pressure these guys feel. No one has it more than the quarterback at Ohio State. Everyone in the state knows who he is. They talk about him. How do you feel he is handling that? And, the great ones, for whatever, they have it.
Yeah.
Do you see that in CJ?
I mean, I think it's a work in progress. I think that there's, like you said, a lot of expectations and big shoes to fill. And I think in certain ways he's done that. In other ways, he's still trying to figure that out. I mean, that's just real. And I think he would tell you that as well. But, that's part of this position. And we knew when we wanted to go down the road of having young quarterbacks in this program that it would be like this. But if you can get through this part of it, if you can get through the growing pains, if you can get through understanding the expectations of walking into the shoe and playing in front of millions, then you got something for a long time.
Say to him as far as pressing, because that's the last thing you want, because with a quarterback, especially on game day, and you can try to simulate it all in practice, but you got to make good decisions.
Yeah, I mean that's playing quarterback. I mean the guys who come here, you know, whether it's CJ or Kyle or Jack, you know, all the guys that have come before, Quinn's, you know, they came here because they want to be the quarterback at Ohio State, that they want to go on to have possibly a career in the NFL. Well, if you want to go play at that level, this is part of the deal. And it doesn't make it easy, but it's something that you have to embrace and you have to understand and have a plan for it when it goes good and have a plan for it when it goes bad, because it can be equally as bad when things go well. You start reading your press clippings. Something that doesn't go well, you know, you start to hear some of the criticism. So goes with the position, and it's just something you have to learn, and it's hard to prepare for, though.
Got time for just a couple more. Far left, sorry I don't know your name, but I think it's Buckeye Sports Bulletin, please.
Yeah, Coach, I know that you've made a couple comments now about the turf and about how you guys are looking into changing your cleats. I also know that in 2007, that when the field turf was installed, they said that it would be at its peak performance for 10 to 12 years. Now in 2021, what are your thoughts on the turf?
You know, up until you know, just recently, I hadn't really given it much thought. You know, and I'm gonna just trust the experts on this thing, and you know, it's hard for me to tell, and I'm just gonna kind of refer to them and listen to them. You know, so many other things on our plate right now that I'm trying to figure out, but certainly it's something we're looking at.
Were there any conversations that you were having with the athletic department about getting new turf in place? Maybe before COVID, was that something that was a casualty or a cut from the cost?
No, I had never had any conversations about that leading up to it, no.
And I can give you guys all an update. This turf was installed in 2014, so we're in year 8 of this turf on our home field. The plan is to replace it next year. We're also going to replace indoor turf next year, but then the typical lifespan of this turf is 8 years. So we're in year 8. We're going to close out our questioning today with 4th row middle, Doug Lamarice, Cleveland.com.
Ryan, I'm trying to think. I think the last time we got an update on Quinn Ewers was at the end of camp, and he was sitting out a couple days for physical rest. Just how's he progressing? Is he running scout team? What's he doing in practice? How's he coming with the playbook and his adjustment to college?
Yeah, it's I think he would tell you that it's been hard for him. You know, kind of jumping into this thing during the preseason, and then being out for a little bit of a stretch. And so you know, we're trying to get him, you know, as much information as we can, but you know, there's a lot of catching up to be done there, and he's trying. He's working at it, but once we get in the season, it's very, very difficult to get guys to catch up and get them the reps, because you know, we need to get the guys reps who are going to play in the game.
Does he throw at practice? Does he get to do that?
Yeah, he does, and he'll get a few reps, and he'll get some reps today. But you know, I can't sit here and tell you he gets enough reps to be able to prepare to play in a game right now. It's really impossible once you're into the season to give, you know, somebody reps. And these guys, these quarterbacks, these young quarterbacks, they need as many reps as they can just to get ready to play in the game. And so when we try to figure out ways to get them a few things after practice and get some work there, and certainly individual.
All right, so I'll try to ask this as succinctly as I can, try to wrap up all the quarterback questions you've got. You have a talented young quarterback who's starting for the first time, who won a competition through April and August. He's dealing with the shoulder thing. It's certainly affecting him, but you're trying to have him play through it. You admitted there's growing pains. You'd like to get to the other side of growing pains, but you also have 2 other young talented quarterbacks who haven't really ever gotten a rep. What is it like trying to balance on that? Because personally, I think it'd be great to see just Kyle and Jack and what they would do out there given a chance. But you also understand, hey, every game rep is really valuable for CJ.
Right.
And is there any part of it that if you gave a backup any extended look, would you fear that would shake any of CJ's confidence if you looked at the backup?
No.
That whole picture.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I mean, I think you summed up just the whole situation really well. And again, you know, this week we'll take a look at the circumstances and see if it makes sense to have some other guys take some reps. To your point, I'd love to get some of those guys in there and see what they can do. Hasn't really come up yet, and I don't think we're there, but again, this week, and we'll look at CJ, see how he's feeling, see how practice goes, and then we'll see based on the game and how things, how the opportunities arise. If we can get those guys in there, that would be great, because like you said, it'd be great to see those guys. They've been practicing, but they really haven't got a lot of reps.
It feels like it can be extra complicated because you have multiple good young quarterbacks, but it also seems like you've sort of said, I like having multiple good young quarterbacks. Is this just the reality of that, and you're happy to deal with that?
Yeah, I think, someone said, boy, that we have a really hard, problem because we have so many great young quarterbacks, and well, we have to find, the quarterbacks who can play. And, one thing that wouldn't be good is if we didn't have any quarterbacks, and that's a problem. Having good young quarterbacks is not a problem, but finding, the amount of reps to give those guys in game, that is a challenge. And certainly those guys understand it, but the better they practice, the more opportunities they're going to have. And that's, you guys don't get a chance to see practice. I know you guys don't want to see all those guys play, but we see practice and we see what happens. And CJ's practiced very, very well, and he's played well at times as well. If those guys want to play, they have to practice well. They have to prepare every day because they have to gain the confidence of the guys that are in that offense, and that's part of it. And so, the minute you can start to put that in practice, you're going to get more opportunities in a game. That's just how it works. So you don't just walk in and deserve reps. That's not how it works. You're welcome.
Coach, thank you very
Right, right. Could you give an update on there?
It's not long term.
But what about the turf?
Hey, how you doing?
The pass rush, what are you seeing there? Seems like it's not up to your guys' standards so far. Just what are you seeing from the pass rush from your guys?
There's a lot of things that we have to improve on. We have to win one-on-ones. That's the biggest thing. When you're chipped in the first game in Oregon, we got a lot of chips. And then second game, we just got to win one-on-ones. Opportunity to present itself. We talked about that. I don't think it's a technique thing. It's just that when you get a one-on-one and a slide protection or a max protection, you got to try to win. And so we'll address that. We'll get better. Our kids understand that. And it starts with me. So we got to get it cranked up and get it going.
Tyleek Williams seems like a guy that's really come on as a true freshman. What have you seen from Tyleek, and what's kind of his future, do you think?
Yeah, he's been a work in progress. He came in really heavy. He lost weight, lost over 25 pounds. Now he's where we want him to be, and he's starting to show what we thought he would be. Athletic, very athletic, had great quick movements, and he's starting to turn into a good player. Played 21 snaps last week. We hope to increase that as we go forward, but really looking forward to what he's doing.
Third row left, Colin Hass-Hill, 11 Warriors. I'm sorry, Griffin Strong.
Yeah. Yeah, Coach. Ryan talked a lot about how, with things kind of changing with the defense, Kerry Combs obviously going upstairs and whatnot. Has your voice been kind of louder, or how have your responsibilities changed over the last week or so?
Just help put the game plan together. Just more input in the run game and make sure that we're solid in the run game, and just another voice in the room. We got a great coaching staff, you know what I mean. And Coach made a change and asked me to be more involved in the daily operation of our defense, and that's basically what I'm doing. Matt's done a great job, and the whole staff. Kerry's done a great job on top. But that's my role right now, just kind of continue to be a voice as we go forward.
Also curious how Zach Harrison's doing, and also if JT is going to continue to earn a lot more snaps after some impressive plays made out there this past week.
We hope Zach is going to be fine for this week. JT, as I've always, you start freshmen slow. You bring them along. And last week was his biggest week. He played 45 plays, and then we'll continue to increase that, probably up to 50, 55. Depends on the game. But yeah, we like to see more from him as we start to go forward.
Right next to Griffin, Dan Hope, 11 Warriors.
Larry, for you, when they make a change and Matt's calling the plays and Kerry's up in the box, does that change anything from your perspective, just in kind of how things work?
Not really. It's just we have the game sheet. I know exactly what's going on. I got a headset on here to call, so we always gather after each series on the sideline, just kind of go over the calls, go over the call sheets, go over the run game, the pass fits, and so that's really about the same. It carries upstairs, great eyes up vision, great information coming down, and so we get a chance to share that information and try to put our kids in the best position to play.
From your perspective, how do you feel like the communication of the defensive staff has been? What are maybe the things you guys have had to improve on over these first few weeks to make things smoother?
Well, first of all, we're professional. We understand each other. There's no issues in the room. Coach Day walked in and said, "Here's what we're going to do." You just, as a professional, as a coach, you just move forward as fast as you can and try to get everybody on the same page, and that's happening right now. Kerry's been outstanding. Matt's been outstanding. And we've got a lot of guys in the room, Al Washington, Paul Rose. Those guys have done a great job working as one unit and one coaching staff on defensive side of the ball.
You mentioned that Tyleek's lost a lot of weight. Do you know what his weight is at now?
He's about 317. He came in at 340 something. I won't give you the something, but but he's down at 317, and he's got a great spirit. He works hard, and now it's starting to show exactly what he can do, and I'm proud where he's at right now.
Second row right, Austin Ward, Letterman row.
If you say something, we have to assume it's the higher side of 340. So when you look at as good as you thought JT could be in his career at some point, are you surprised by how much you're playing him or what he's giving you through 3 games?
Yeah, I think the thing was just kind of see. I think the first thing was he came in great shape, and that was a bonus. And then he's got a really high football IQ, which means that he understands the game a lot. He's a great study of the videotapes. He studied it a lot. He meets with me all the time, watch the videotapes. So that advanced him really quickly. And then the ability to have the physical tools to play on the field, understand our defense, has really pushed them ahead. And that's the kind of thing I like what's going on right now, that we're able to push them ahead and get them ready as we go down the stretch in the game. But he's done really well handling it.
And I think Jack may have drawn 1 holding penalty or could have drawn several when he was out there.
Yeah.
Are you seeing that same sort of trend upward with him?
I do. It's not about, it's about practicing, and then it's about playing time. You just can't say, well, I'm ready to go. You got to go play the game, and that's what they're finding out. Just surprised the JT first game. You go, wow. I see, yeah, it's a different game, isn't it? So just trying to understand it, getting up to speed, playing faster all the time, and that's really something that is a work in progress every time you have a young player in the field.
Second row left, Stephen Means, Cleveland.com.
Kind of with those two, I think just from the outside looking in, if you would have looked at the snap count and expected who was going to be playing more between those two, you probably would have assumed Jack, just given how much longer he's been here. Mm-hmm. Not to compare, but to compare him a little bit, what has allowed JT to maybe take some of those further steps that Jack hasn't?
JT, a bigger guy, he's 270, so he can play on a tight end. And I'm not saying Jack can't do that, but he can play on a tight end really well. He's real physical in his skill set. And he's got some really good technique that he came in with, and we're just trying to enhance that. That's different. They're 2 different players. They really are. And JT is a powerful, I say this all the time, he's a real powerful young man. And Jack is a finesse player, he really is. He can use his hands, he can rush, and he a guy who's got a lot of confidence in his ability. When you put him in the right spot, he'll make a play, and that's kind of who he is. So I kind of like this attitude.
When you're a young player trying to get on the field, how important is maybe being able to stop the run as quickly as possible?
That's critical. And you want to have a chance to have success early too. And I'm really careful about not putting young players in position where they have a mistake made in the game that kind of haunts them for a while. So you won't see too much of them in the red zone unless we really need them. Just to kind of create a positive and really some impact them to be really confident in their ability to play, especially going forward. But they're both done really well. I'm really happy where they are.
Right next door, Nathan Baird, Cleveland.com.
Hardly any veterans were graded as champions from this last game, and that's including some important people that you have up front. I guess just what was your reaction to that?
You know, migrated systems is really, really tough to get to being a champion. You got to meet all the standards. It's more than just playing. It's just technique and everything involved in the game is more important to me. And then just guys making plays. Making plays is really cool. And I think that's what we should do, production-wise, but also there's technique things you have to be improved on. And I just felt that, you know, Tilly played really well for a guy to play 21 plays. There were some guys close to being champion. I just felt that I just needed to see more. Yeah.
And Ty Hamilton's someone that we're seeing a lot on the field, and he's someone that you guys, I think, were talking about going back to like even last spring. What's kind of breaking through to push him?
I think the last couple of games you're starting to see what he can do for us inside. He's a big, strong guy. You can't knock him off the ball very easily. And he played really well on Saturday. And so his role will increase as we go forward. But I like where he's at right now. Yeah.
Back row left, Brendan Gulick, Buckeyes Now on Sports Illustrated.
Hey, Coach, thanks for the time.
Yeah.
You've played quite a bit of depth all across the line. We've certainly seen flashes from a lot of those players, but you see them really regularly. Among your group, who is rising to the top that you think may see increased, more consistent playing time going forward?
I think Tulik's the guy that stands out right now. He's going to probably see more time. Of course, JT and Jack are going to get more time as we go forward. I'm hoping some of the young ends that I haven't seen a lot of, like Jacoby, Cowan, Tay, Camarte, can get involved. Also help us out down the stretch, just a rotation kind of guys. But I'm really pleased with progress. And then I said earlier, Ty Hamilton is really starting to come along. Cage, we're starting to get back now, so he's back involved. So we're hoping he can improve also going forward.
And just from the standpoint of trying to generate pressure, I feel like when there are instances where the defensive line is not speeding up the quarterback's clock, it's really hard to cover somebody for 4 or 5 seconds, whether you're a DB or a linebacker.
No doubt.
How much is your group taking pride in trying to get to the quarterback more quickly to help out the back end of the defense?
Yeah, everything starts up front. And like I said every time in the room, it's not what's behind us, what's in front of us, and that's us. And we have to find a way to generate that. The quarterback to hold the ball, 3.4 seconds is not a good deal. That means that we got to get to the quarterback. We have to affect his throw. I thought early in the game the quarterback started at 7, dropped to 9, threw the ball. There's a long haul to get to him, which is, they schemed us a little bit to what they want to do. But no excuse. We got to get to the quarterback. Our guys know that. My room know that. I know that. I don't sleep well when we can't get pressure on the quarterback because that's what we got to do. And if we do that, we'll change the game. We'll change the game immediately, and that's what we're going to do going forward. To find ways to get to the quarterback. That means changing personnel, putting the right guys on the field to get it done. But the bottom line is got to get it done, and it starts with me. Yeah.
Second row right, Joey Kaufman, Columbus Dispatch.
Larry, when you talked about the pass rush and the need to win more one-on-ones, what needs to happen for your guys to do that?
What was that?
When you talk about the guys up front and getting the pass rush need to win more of their one-on-ones, what needs to happen for them to win more of those?
It's technique. I mean, it really is technique. You're still trying to bull rush a guy, use your hands. And then you can't bull rush a guy the whole entire game, think you're going to push him to the quarterback lap. So it's back to the basic fundamentals that we teach, is use your hands, use your hips, and being really speedy off the line of scrimmage to make it happen, So I think those are the things that it's going to never change getting to the quarterback, how to rush the quarterback. They got a good plan how to do that. We just have to continue to execute the plan to get there.
And you're playing a lot of young players on the line with JT and Tyleek and Jack. Going into the year, what was your expectation level as far as the pass rush for the first couple of games? Did you expect maybe it was going to take some time for it to come along? How have they kind of met your expectations going?
Yeah, I think it takes time. You just can't throw a guy in and say, hey, he's going to be up to speed right now to rush the passer in college football. It's technique, it's development, understand the scheme, understand the protection is a real key. And man, people do different things against us. We got chipped. We get chipped a lot if we're on the edge. So we got to change what we do there. So there's a lot of factors. But for a young guy to go in and feel ready to go, he's got to have a good skill set.
Got time for just a few more. Fourth row middle, Doug Lamarice, Cleveland.com.
Larry, I know Tehran didn't play much last week. He got knocked out early. But in general, you have played Haskell and Tehran together sometimes inside.
Mm-hmm.
What goes into your thought process of wanting to play them together, maybe wanting to play a more traditional nose with one of them? What's that? How do you make those decisions?
Well, when you do that, you really kind of change the flavor up front. They both have the skill set to play nose and 3 technique. And so you try to take advantage of that in a game where you have a guy may go down, And so you put the next best player in that position. So the next best player could be Haskell at 3 technique or Teron at nose guard. So you kind of create a two-way go player. So you still are going on the road, instead of having 4 D tackles, now you have 6 because you have guys who can play both ways. That's the balance of what we try to do. And then we try to find a spot where we know they're really comfortable in playing at and as we go forward. But it's a good change-up for it. It helps us on the front forward. It builds depth and a sense of what we're looking for. And then we get the third down, we decide who's going to be where as we go forward. But that's the reason why we're doing that, try to build depth.
And then this is looking backward, but I'm sure you learned some stuff from it. The Oregon game, it seemed like at times you did have some ends who were crashing inside, moments when you guys got beat on the perimeter. Were those guys doing their correct responsibility at times, and there was something in what their assignments were that allowed Oregon to get outside, or were there times when maybe you guys were getting too far inside?
We had a call that it was sent them inside, so it was a base call that we had, and it allowed them to rush inside. It was like a stunt that we ran, and it just so happened the ball got outside of us. Yeah, I was trying to redirect from it, but no, it wasn't a pass rush move. It was a movement stunt that we were using. Yeah.
Right next door, Pat Murphy, 24/7 Sports.
Larry, following up on Doug's first question, just the interior of the defensive line, which we don't talk about a ton, but that group as a whole, how have you evaluated their play? How much can that group still take a jump?
I think they can all can improve. I think we're not where we want to be. That's obvious. They've done a great job. The first goal to have a chance to rush the quarterback, you got to stop the run. And that starts with those guys up front. If they can't rush the ball, then we have a chance to push the pocket. So we have to do a better job pushing the pocket, getting the ends closer in. But it's 4 guys working together. It's not an individual group. It's 4 guys who have to understand how to close the lane, how to push the pocket, how to cage the pocket. So now we got a chance to surround the quarterback. So just understanding that process is the key.
Back row right, Spencer Holbrook, Letterman Row.
Larry, when you have Tyreek and Zach and Javante and Teron and all this depth on your defensive line, and it's all veteran guys, are you ever surprised when you look out there and you've sent 3 or 4 freshmen out there at once to do the work?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting, when you have to do that. Send some freshman guys out to give those guys a break, but that's where we are. Our depth is what it is. We have some veteran players, and then we have some young players that need to play. And so we try to find a way to do that, to get those guys ready. Because it's a long season, as you know. We got a lot of football left. So I'm just happy that we can get them ready. But as we get into the season, get into the Big Ten conference schedule, we're going to need those reps as we go forward.
I think it was a guy that not a lot of people knew about in his recruitment. It was kind of a surprise commitment, I guess. What did you see out of him? Did you think that at almost 350 in high school that he could get down to?
That's a good question. But in high school, he was 280. I saw him in high school between 270 and 280. Really great looking young man. And I was really impressed with his ability to move the ball. And then the pandemic hit, and like most people sat around and ate and had fun. And he must have ate too much. So when I saw him for the very first time, when he showed up here on campus, he was 3+. And I was like, wow, what happened? And but then when we start running and moving around, everybody in the building go, wow, this guy can move for a big man. And he just got to get in shape, got to get in conditioning. And that was the biggest challenge for him, getting in conditioning to be able to play at the speed that we need to play at. So he's there now, so now we should see some things going forward.
If I could just sneak one quick thing in. Can you give an update on Mike Hall and where he is in his progression? Because he's another guy who not a lot of people talk about very much.
Yeah, Mike is close. Mike is really close to really hitting the field. We just don't want to waste his year yet. We can play him in 4 games before we decide to redshirt him. But he's close. He's close. He's a lean guy. He's 270, 275. We're trying to get weight on him, to be honest with you. But he's going to be fine. He's going to be a good player. He's really energetic. He's really powerful. So I like where Mike is at right now. Yep.
Last 2 individuals. Second row middle, Bill Rabinowitz, Columbus Dispatch.
Hi, Larry. Ohio State's been blessed to have generational talents in the Bosas and Chase Young. You've got a lot of 5-star guys, 4-star guys, some older, some younger. Is the struggles with the defensive line, or at least not having the dominance that people are used to, simply a factor of not having a Bosa and a Chase Young, because those guys are just so rare?
Mm-hmm. Well, you're talking 2 different, those guys are special athletes. If you go back and when they first started, freshmen, you saw flashes, but you didn't see the flashes of who they were until later in their careers. You saw Chase take a shot, sophomore, junior year, he takes off. Freshman year, he was a good player. And the same thing, I didn't coach Joey his freshman year, but Nick was the same thing. We part-time Nick until he was ready to go. I think it's a process you go through. I don't think anybody can walk in and say, hey, he's ready to go, playing. I'm hoping someone can do that. But to me, it's a process how you grow. When you get to that third year, there should be flashes of who you're supposed to be. If it's not, then we've done something wrong coaching them, and that's what I coach, so I believe in the system to get that done. So I don't think it has anything. I'd love to have another first-round draft pick, but we have those guys. They're here. We just got to continue developing.
Are you? I don't know if disappointed is the right word. Are you concerned that the unit as a whole has not been as dominating as I'm sure you'd like it to be, or is it just kind of this is just the way it is in the process?
It is in the process. I won't use the word disappointed because that's not a good word. I think that there's room for improvement, and that starts with the guy standing in front of you. We've got to find a way to improve their skill set and get them going, and that's what we're going to work on. We'll spend all day and night figuring it out why, but we'll get it fixed and find a way to get those guys going forward. They got a lot of pride in the room. They aren't sitting around, being smiling every day. They know that we have some work to do, and we've got to go to work. So that's how you fix it.
Sorry about that, Coach. And final questions, far left, Jared Smalley, WCMH.
Related to that question.
Yeah.
Tyreek, he hasn't flashed as much as I think maybe some people thought he might to start this year.
I'm sorry, who?
Tyreek.
Yeah.
With the experience he had the disappointment coming off last year, missing the title game.
Yeah.
Where do you see him right now, and where or is that disappointment, not disappointment, but that expectation for him high, trying to get there? How is he
I think he's got the talent. He got the depth and talent. Very talented player. But like everything else, is like I said before, it's a process you have to go through. So it depends on. I don't want to put any pressure on him. I don't want him to put any pressure on himself. But we just got to continue to work at it. We're not going to shut it down because he's not getting to the quarterback. But if you watch it, you got to see the game from a different level. I see the game close up because I am in the room coaching, videotaping. I can slow it down. I can see exactly what's going on. You see it for a brief minute, and that's your observation. My job is to find out why. Why is that happening? So you see a guy running from sideline to sideline on the field, playing extremely hard. That's the thing that really jumps out when you watch him play. Now, we just got to fix what he does when he gets to the tackle. Are we doing the right things there? Are we too tight? Are we too high? Are we too far inside? So those are the things I think you can coach and fix. But certainly you love the way he plays because he plays really hard. And that's something probably no one talks about because when you watch Levin runs around, he's running sideline to sideline pretty much every play, hustling to the football. So we just got to find a way to continue to improve it because the skill set is there. It's all there.